Developing news tonight, Wall Street gearing up for a huge fight with Democrats over the fairness agenda in 2016. Reuters reports key U.S. banks have talked about halting some campaign donations to Senate Democrats because of the progressive policies of lawmakers like Elizabeth Warren. Representatives from Citigroup, J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Bank of America have met to discuss ways to urge Democrats to soften their party's tone toward Wall Street. I guess the banks didn't like this kind of talk.
There's a lot of talk lately about how Dodd-Frank isn't perfect. There's a lot of talk coming from Citigroup about how Dodd-Frank isn't perfect. So let me say this to anyone who is listening at Citi. I agree with you. Dodd-Frank isn't perfect. It should have broken you into pieces.
They want to ensure that Wall Street mega banks will never again monopolize our nation's wealth or gamble away the American dream.
You cannot regulate Wall Street. Wall Street is regulating the Congress. It's time to break up large Wall Street banks.
These lawmakers are not letting Wall Street run wild, but they've got a tough fight ahead of them. U.S. banks are adding lobbyists to target the watchdog agency that protects regular folks, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The banks are also pouring money into efforts to roll back Dodd-Frank financial reform. And the new House Republican budget targets both. Republicans are doing exactly what Wall Street wants, and progressives in the White House and in Congress will have to stop them. Joining me now is Vermont's independent Senator Bernie Sanders. Thanks for being here, Senator.
My pleasure.
Senator, banks are now talking about withholding donations. Are they scared of the work you and others have done?
Well, I think they're beginning to get nervous that the American people are catching on, that the ethos of Wall Street is greed and fraud, that it is unacceptable, Al, for 6 financial institutions to have assets equivalent to 60% of the GDP of our country, to issue half the mortgages and 2/3 of the credit cards in this country. And the American people understand that we in Congress are unable to regulate Wall Street. In fact, their power is so great, they regulate the United States Congress. And more people are saying enough is enough. It is time to break them up. And they are getting a little nervous.
You know, Senator, financial reform is a big part of President Obama's legacy. How big will this fight be in the next year?
Well, it's going to be a huge fight because, as every listener and every viewer understands, it was the greed and recklessness and illegal behavior of Wall Street which drove this country into the worst recession since the Great Depression. These people are greedy, greedy, greedy. They want more and more and more, and they're prepared to destroy the economy to get what they want. And ultimately, what we as a nation have got to say is, do we stand up to this incredible power? Do we create a financial system whose job is to make sure that small and medium-sized businesses can grow jobs in this country? Or do we continue to have a Wall Street which is an island unto itself, whose only goal in life is to make more and more money for their stockholders and the CEOs of the big firms?
Republicans, Senator, may not want to do anything about income inequality, but they're definitely starting to talk about it. Listen to this.
The recovery has been everywhere but in the family paychecks. The American dream has become a mirage for far too many.
The wage stagnation is happening at a time when the cost of everything is going up dramatically.
The facts are we're facing right now a divided America when it comes to the economy. Today, the top 1% earn a higher share of our national income than any year since 1928.
Senator, they sound like Bernie Sanders. They sound like you. But what are their solutions? What are they saying?
Here's their solutions, Al. You're right. They do sound like me. Here's their solutions. Their solution is, in the last Republican budget, just done last week, they decided to give more tax breaks to the multi-billionaires of this country and because of their deep concern about the pain facing working families, cut back on the ability of kids to go to college, cut back on nutrition, cut back on affordable housing. And by the way, add another $38 billion into defense spending unpaid for. If they are concerned about working families, let them start talking about and acting on raising the minimum wage, dealing with pay equity, stop trade agreements which cost them jobs. I'm afraid all they are is rhetoric. They're catching on that the American people are upset, but they, in fact, have nothing concrete to offer.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you for your time tonight. And, Senator, we'll look forward to seeing you next week at the National Action Network 2015